Welcome to the War Academy channel. Today, we have an exciting program, in which we are going to analyze how the first fall of Imperial Rome was in the year 410 AD. The city of Rome, also known as the Eternal City, which for so many centuries had stood as the capital of the known world, concluded this year a long period of decline in which it had entered for many decades. After this great looting carried out by the Visigothic king Alaric, the city would not take many years to be sacked again by the Vandals or by the troops of Ricimer, placing the definitive fall of the Western Roman Empire in the year 476. Having made this introduction, let's start with today's story, for which we have to go back to the year 395, when the young Alaric was proclaimed king of the Visigoths. According to the chronicles of the time, the first promise he made as soon as he was crowned was that one day he would set foot in the Roman Forum after conquering the city, and that he would not take off his armor until he achieved it. Just on that date, the great Roman Empire had just been divided definitively into two by Emperor Theodosius, giving his son Honorius the western part and Arcadius the eastern part. During this time, Rome was not even a shadow of what it had been centuries ago, plagued by barbarian invasions that it could no longer withstand, and countless civil wars that only weakened it. Even with everything, Rome still had a good card as a great general, who could still face threats, being the Stilicho. Being the situation like this, the first actions carried out by Alaric were to attack the Eastern Empire, focusing on present-day Greece. After a series of combats, Stilicho was able to contain the Visigoths, although they finally reached an agreement in which they were granted territories in Illyria to settle. This territory is on the northern coast of the Adriatic Sea. After a few years of peace, by 401 Alaric decided that the time had come to fulfill his promise, and therefore to go to Rome. This started a series of battles throughout northern Italy, Pollentia being the most important of them, in which Stilicho's Roman army defeated Alaric. After this, the Visigoths had to withdraw and return to their lands in Illyria. By the year 403, Alaric invaded Italy again, with the same intention of reaching Rome, but was again defeated by Stilicho at the Battle of Verona and had to retreat once more. However, despite these triumphs, the situation for the Romans was totally hopeless. Several Germanic tribes had crossed the Rhine and had ended up reaching the Italian peninsula, invading it again. Once again, Stilicho had to be sent to the rescue and was able to defeat the Ostrogothic coalition near present-day Florence. The following year, around 406, another coalition, this time of Suebi, Vandals, and Alans, crossed the Rhine and headed towards Gaul and Hispania, looting all the towns they found in their path. The Vandals would end up passing later to North Africa, taking control of this important region, and would march a few decades later against Rome itself. However, and if the situation was already desperate, we have to add the abandonment of Britannia a few years ago, because the legions stationed there were needed to defend the border on the Rhine. By this time large groups of Picts, Saxons, and Scots were entering Roman Britain, with no one able to stop them. Having made this global analysis of the situation, in which the Roman Empire found itself at the beginning of the 5th century, let us return again to Alaric. By the year 407 the Visigoths invaded Italy for the third time, hoping this time to achieve their great goal. Due to the even greater weakness in which the Romans now found themselves, after having been overwhelmed by all these invasions, Stilicho advised the Roman Emperor Honorius, on this occasion, to pay Alaric the 1,800 kilos of gold that the Visigoth requested, and thus avoid confrontation. After accepting the payment, Alaric retired with the gold, but he would not be gone for long, for by 408 the Romans would be infighting again. It all started with the death of Emperor Honorius's wife, who was the daughter of General Stilicho. In order for the bond between the two men to continue, Honorius married Stilicho's other daughter, but after the sudden death of Arcadius as well, who we remember was the emperor of the Eastern Empire, their relationship began to deteriorate. Stilicho went to Constantinople to supposedly handle negotiations for the new emperor, and rumors began to spread in Rome that Stilicho intended to put his infant son on the throne. Whether this rumor was true or not, the truth is that Emperor Honorius had Stilicho arrested, and a little later both he and his son were executed. With this action, Rome had lost the best general it had, and with it, all hope of resisting the different barbarian peoples that plagued its borders. As soon as Alaric heard the news, he invaded Italy again, this time without anyone being able to stop him. He quickly reached Rome and was able to besiege the city. Again, the Romans were forced to give Alaric all the gold he demanded, and the Senate of Rome also undertook to help him reach a peace with Emperor Honorius, who was based in Ravenna and not in Rome. It should be noted that during these last decades, the capital of the Western Roman Empire for practical purposes was Ravenna instead of Rome. In any case, once Alaric arrived in Ravenna to meet with Honorius, the emperor refused to continue negotiating with them and caused the Visigoths to return to Rome, to besiege the city again in 409. After many negotiations, in which the Visigoths had been able to put a puppet ruler in Rome named Attalus, he ended up turning against Alaric himself after a year, again forcing the Visigoths to besiege Rome, this time if by force definitive. It was specifically on August 24, 410, when some Visigoths who had infiltrated Rome were able to open one of the gates of the city, through which the Visigoth army quickly entered and razed the city that not many years ago had been considered unbeatable. The looting of Rome by Alaric lasted 3 full days, in which the Visigoths carried out a pillage never seen before. All the gold and silver that adorned the city, whether it was in the temples, arches, or decorative statues, was stolen and melted down into ingots to be carried away from Rome. Many buildings were in turn burned and destroyed, although as a general rule the civilian population was quite respected and no massacre was carried out. This sack of the city took place about 2 years after Stilicho's death, and showed that Rome, far from being invincible, was already totally vulnerable. The Visigothic king Alaric was not able to enjoy his plunder and loot for long, for he fell ill soon after and died in the south of Italy during the same year. Despite this symbolic looting, this was not the end of the Western Roman Empire, as it would still continue to try to survive for another 65 years, which were not easy at all. It was specifically 4 decades later, when they would face one of their most difficult challenges, when they were attacked by Attila the Hun. However, despite the strength of the Huns and their allies, they were unable to penetrate the city of Rome itself. It was specifically about 2 years after the death of Attila, when the Vandals sacked Rome in the year 455, after which the Western Empire would give its last blows before falling definitively in 476. And what do you think? Do you think that the Romans could do something to maintain their borders, or in the 5th century they were already completely sentenced? How do you assess the death of the generals Stilicho or Favlio Aetius, who died in very similar circumstances, these being the last men who could face the enemies of Rome? If you want to expand this information, I leave you in the description the gatherings that we have made on ancient Rome, as well as the books on the fall of Rome, and the legions of Rome, on which we have relied for this program. And well, this video ends here. Thank you all very much, especially the sponsors who make this possible. Subscribe and share this program if you liked it, and see you in the next one. See you soon.